Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it honors me to present you a new course we have called The Foundations of Islamic Spirituality, a course which is designed to help us build a stronger connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We study the classical texts that the scholars conveyed this tradition to us, the texts of Imam Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari, Imam Abdullah al-Haddad, Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahumullah ta'ala. It's infused with the tradition of spirituality that connects us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via the Quran, the Sunnah, and the teachings of the scholars and their elucidation. It's a course for everybody who wants to seek a stronger connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we start this course by touching on the inner dimensions of Islamic worship. We always talk about how do I get more presence of heart in prayer, how do I benefit from my fasting, giving charity and zakat, and even the hajj, and even maybe doing dhikr and istighfar. We talk about seeking the blessings and the spiritual impact of these acts of worship. We then move on to a more social context, a more activity context, where we talk about our daily routine and how to maximize the spirituality from that, when we're interacting with our parents, with our neighbors, when we're eating food in social settings, how we should apply the prophetic characteristics and etiquettes to enhance our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately. So in term 2, we look at the relationship of marriage, a very important relationship between husband and wife, and in the sense that how do we make this a fruitful relationship to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help each other on our spiritual journeys, and learn the rights and responsibilities that we have. But really it's all about making this a productive and fruitful journey. And then we also look at the wisdoms of Imam Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari, which are amazing pieces of advice, of wisdom in terms of our spiritual journey, the first steps in terms of making that change and intention and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also about making du'as and getting away from our whims and desires. These pieces of wisdom are really empowering and help us to build a stronger connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in term 3, we move on to an amazing book called the Book of Assistance of Imam Abdullah ibn Alawi al-Haddad rahimahullah, which is a book of counsels, of advice, of etiquettes, about thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about etiquette in the masjid, about interaction with others. Beautiful pieces of advice that are very relevant to us today, that will help us build a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within our worldly life. And then we look at Hadith studies, and our Hadith studies are again designed, or thematic and designed to look at those Hadith that talk about spirituality, talk about the heart and purification of the heart, a set of Hadith that talk about du'as and making supplications, Hadith that talk about reflecting over the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we'll have a section on Hadith studies that help us build a stronger connection to our Creator. In our final term, term 4, we look at parenting, raising children. And this is relevant for everybody, because it's not merely you have to be a parent to study this or know this. It's actually about being a helpful member of society, in taking on certain characteristics, having discipline yourself, and then imparting that to young people in your society, those around you, your nephews, your nieces, your siblings that are younger than you. It's a really empowering unit that talks about the Islamic values and how to inculcate them into our children and spread these teachings to the younger generation. And then we look at the tafsir of the Quran in Surah Yasin, in particular, the heart of the Quran. And it's a surah that reminds us of the Akhirah. It's a surah that talks about the resurrection. It's a surah that talks about an accountability, a reason for living, a reason to have good actions in our lives. So this is a motivational surah that we should learn the meaning of, because often we recite Surah Yasin, we don't really understand why it's recited or what the contents of this surah are. So it befits us as Muslims to really make an effort to learn this surah, inshallah ta'ala. So the course runs over 32 weeks and it's split up into 4 terms of 8 weeks, and each week there's 2 hours of study, and those 2 hours are on Saturday mornings 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and that starts in September and ends in June. There are holidays during half-term breaks and end of term, and we study 2 subjects a week for 4 terms, which is 8 subjects in total, covering what's been mentioned in the curriculum. It's for everybody to attend. There's no assessment, so it's quite relaxed, but it is engaging, full of interaction, discussions. One of my favorite parts is the parenting module, where there's a lot of discussions and challenges. Also in the section on the hikam, the wisdoms, a lot of people relate to that and find that it's really relevant advice. So it's a course designed for you as an everyday person that's wanting to become more confident and spiritual in their journey as a Muslim, in their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I mentioned, it's relaxed and welcoming. Our teachers are, educated here in the UK. We have grown up here and lived amongst the community, and we understand the needs of today. It's for adults, so it's an adult course. 18 plus is what we expect our students to be having. No need for any qualifications to attend, but just the willingness and the desire to improve themselves via learning the Deen of Islam.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا